we are waiting for Mr. Ikram Thowfeek, Muhammad Ikram Thowfeek, and he's already with us. And sir, I would like to welcome you. And we are waiting to have the webinar on the Sukuk, the most promising asset class for sovereign debt reform. You know, just I'm giving a 1 minute brief about the Sukuk. Sukuk, this is an uh, Islamic bond, usually we tell it, but obviously Mr. Ikram Tawfiq will also describe you that this is the term we use, how Sukuk is used in different form. And obviously, this is a asset which can be used by different organizations, different corporate bodies, and most importantly, a country can also, or the state can use this, already using this. So this is what actually we'll be looking for. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Muhammad Ikram Thowfeek. He's a managing partner at 10x MIT Advisory. He's a founder of IBAD Academy and Fast Global Academy. As a person, he is a chartered accountant by profession and an Islamic banker by practice, an entrepreneur, author, a mentor, and setting up specialist with 30 years of hand-on experience, having built 6 Islamic banks and financial institutions from the ground. He is a very humble and simple and a very community asset for us, whilst his mission is to empower 1 million Islamic finance literate and leaders by 2030. So I am now handing to Mr. Ikram Thowfeek for presenting about the Sukuk structure and mechanics, sovereign debts reform strategy, and how Islamic finance are differ with the and they use the World Bank or the IMF. And obviously, Mr. Tawfik will show us the case study from his practice and finally the path forward. So like you, I am also waiting for him and also would like to have his views and discussion. And after having his discussion, he will take around 60 minutes and we'll have the QA sessions. And thank you for joining and have a listen, please.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala nabil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. My respected elders, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace, mercy and blessings of Almighty Allah be with all of us. Before I share my humble thoughts with you, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Almighty Allah and also organizers of this webinar, Brother Fakhrul and Brother Isan and the team, Dr. Ziad and the entire team who have really done a great deal of work. I mean, from last few years of Edupro, mashallah. When I look at his presentation, Brother Fakhrul's introduction, I was amazed, mashallah. May Allah give barakah and raise the bar. Raise the bar. There are so much of potential in the market. Raise the bar. Keep growing, inshallah. That's my dua, inshallah, Brother Fakhrul. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share my humble thoughts on the topic, a serious topic called Sukuk. Every government, every corporate entity is looking for Sukuk today they are talking about. But the information, the message has been not reaching the right people or the decision makers. That is what the challenge today is all about. Alhamdulillah, I hope the next 1 hour will shed some practical knowledge, inshallah, so that the people can go with some solution, workable solution, wherever their positions are, whatever they do. I mean, they can start building up, this entire Sukuk framework. That way they can build it up. And before I go further, I saw some of the people who are chatting like, can I have the slide? Can I have the slide? There are certain slides we can share later, maybe inshallah. Some of the slides are connected to some corporate client. We are signed up, we are advising. But today I wanted to bring and share everything with you. But certain slides are confidential and we are signed on an NDA. But still, I wanted to share these slides so that you absorb these 60 minutes, inshallah, with very, very real focus and get what you really wanted to get in order to take the next step, inshallah, on the Sukuk reform. Not only reform, I mean, about a sovereign, also reforming your corporate entities, inshallah. So, without much ado, I really wanted to go back. I mean, given the title, Sukuk, as Brother Fakhrul said, the world's most promising asset class, and we have to remove from Islamic bond or whatever. It's no more a bond. Sukuk is not a bond, not a debt instrument. It's some sort of like a promising asset class where everybody participate, and the real asset back, there's an asset value. We are not dealing with debt. So the for sovereign debt reform, if you really look at the topic today, is very much applicable and very much serious when you look at most of the countries who are really suffering. Most of the countries are really suffering with this debt structure, which has been given by global financing institutions, and we will go deep into it. And I am really going to share my heart out, inshallah. And any question, jot down or send on your notes, whatever it is, inshallah, we'll try to answer within the time frame, inshallah. And I think Brother Fakhrul has really given an introduction. Alhamdulillah, I'm very humble and a simple guy. Wanted to share my knowledge with the people, inshallah. I have a great mission to achieve 1 million Islamic finance literate and leaders by 2030. That's my only mission that I'm working on day in and day out. I just need one help from you, just your dua, humble and sincere dua to make it happen, inshallah, before 2030, inshallah. And the topic today, I have really given the time. There are so much to share. Sometimes, 1 hour is not enough. I am trying to, give the essence of it so that, you get motivated and inspired to take this journey. I mean, it's a huge market on the Sukuk side. Leave the Islamic finance market. If that market is saturated, no jobs, whatever is happening, I mean, move into this new market called Islamic capital market and Sukuk. This wide open, inshallah. I am going to give some real practical insight on what's really happening. And Alhamdulillah, for me to share this knowledge, I have got involved. Allah has been blessed me to get involved with Sukuk from the first issuance of Sukuk from 2002 onwards. I have gone through the document. I have sat with the scholars. I sat with the legal team. Alhamdulillah, I have gone through the full journey, A to Z, of implementing Sukuks. Alhamdulillah. So during early stage, there are so much of challenges we were really facing. Alhamdulillah, we really today, if you really look at the Sukuk industry, it has gone into decades. Alhamdulillah. It is really becoming a global success story today. Global success story today. So the topic today we wanted to cover Sukuk structure and mechanics. I'm not going to get into basics of Islamic banking, basics of capital markets. I am really hitting the subject matter today. I hope, inshallah, everybody will benefit out of it. And those people who are listening, inshallah, decision makers, they have to take this forward, inshallah, in their respective institution or in their respective country, inshallah. So Sukuk structure and mechanics. Sovereign debt reforms. What is the strategy? I mean, how do you build a strategy? I mean, at the global, but at the sovereign level, who are the decision makers? Are the finance ministers, central bank governors? Are they listening to these webinars? Are they listening to those, what you call, advisors or those practitioners, I mean, who are really gone through the mill? No. This information has to go into those, boardrooms at the foreign ministry, boardrooms of the central bank, for them to, open their eyes. Oh, we have been, debt-ridden. We are really suffering. Where is the alternative? Here is the alternative. That's what we want to go and talk to them, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, we are breaking those barriers today, and we are encouraging most of the governments to look at this Sukuk option, inshallah, to come out from these, debt traps, inshallah. And Islamic finance was IMF and the World Bank. Whenever you speak about debt for sovereign debts, it comes IMF and the World Bank. It's a basic, everybody knows. It is a common knowledge. We will find out how the Islamic finance can be compared and bring some solution to that, inshallah. A case study, a country transition model. If I have time permits, I will just share one particular country which had a deficit budget, which had a really a serious problem of building housing schemes for their locals, for the nationals, for their nations, and they are agitating against the government, and the government has to build up an housing scheme, and they don't have the money, but they have the resources, they have the assets in the country. Valuable assets they have, but they didn't know how to raise this, $250 million in order to solve this problem. So this, if I time permits, I am going to share that practical aspect of it, inshallah, going forward. And finally, the path forward. What is the next step you have to take in order to, build up your journey, not the phases, but your plan to become independent, not dependent on these all debt agencies, inshallah. So having said that, to go further, Before I move forward again, can everybody hear me clear, crystal clear and loud? Am I too fast?
No, it's fine. It's
Thank
fine.
you so much. Thank you. Let me move forward. When you look at the Islamic finance products for different risk return profile, if you really look at what is the bottom line, underline of coming out with Islamic finance products, there are banking products, there are finance products in the conventional space. For the Islamic finance product, the core important aspect, the core principle is the money. The money must be used. Money is not a commodity to be bought, sold, or leased, or bought and sold and leased. Money is to be used in economic activities or productive generating activities in order to earn a profit, and that profit has to be shared, whatever the agreed ratio that you wanted to share. So the core principle is money must serve real productive asset or economic activity, not generate return on its own existence. You will know why I'm coming out with this particular slide. By the end of the slide, this will have so much of meaning for you, inshallah. And also, what is the wisdom of the creator? I mean, I didn't tell that riba is prohibited. No, my scholar didn't tell riba is prohibited. My central bank didn't say riba is prohibited. Almighty Allah, the creator came with the wisdom of, prohibiting riba, prohibiting interest in sterner terms to the extent of waging war against Almighty Allah and His Messenger. My always, my pondering is, who in this world can dare to face a war with the Creator and His Messenger? None of us. Neither me, none of you, inshallah. So Almighty Allah said that Almighty Allah permitted trading and prohibited interest and usury. So we get into trading, we get into entrepreneurship, we get into become a merchant, inshallah. So that is where the Sukuk structures and the Islamic finance structures are built on. And then coming back there, alhamdulillah, today the Islamic finance industry has grown leaps and bounds, alhamdulillah. There are multiple products are there for Islamic banking and finance for multiple purposes and for different risk return profiles. And people are not looking into these couple of products. Only people know about products when they talk about Islamic banking. Yeah, I know Muraba. Yes, I know I know Tawarruk. I know Wakala. Only one or two products they know. And there are multiple products for multiple purposes and also to serve different risk return profiles of the clients. So this is where, alhamdulillah, today our topic is not to talk about all the products. We have a laser beam focus of, talking about Sukuk today. So that is what we want to talk about Sukuk, inshallah. So what is this Sukuk is all about? I mean, to give a definition of Sukuk, is it a bond or is it a debt instrument? Or what is really Sukuk is? Sukuk is a Sharia compliant, a market instrument, a capital market instrument used by an originator. It can be a corporate client, corporate originator, or a sovereign government originator to raise funds. This is another promising asset class, I said, to raise funds for different infrastructure projects, different revenue generating projects. Another way of opening up capital raising. That's what the Sukuk comes up, and it can be a fixed or a floating rate, whilst complying with the Sharia structures and Sharia principles. Not like fixing up an interest rate. You pay that amount irrespective of whether you are doing well or not doing well. So it doesn't work like an interest-based, a guaranteed percentage of interest that you have to pay. That is the real challenge that most of the corporate entities are facing and most of the governments are facing today. And comparable to certain, conventional structures, we can call it like a asset-backed, securities where there's underlying asset that have been backed by the funding. So that means you can, go into that asset whenever there's any default or anything happens, for your investment. Or the generic term, sometimes it gives a certificate. There are millions of dollars being raised on Sukuk. And how do I park about $1 million, $10 million, $50 million a share of the entire project? That's where you have an owner certificate, a Sukuk holder certificate that will give you the ownership rights of the entire asset. Then we'll talk about the asset which will be ring fenced, and it will be covered by, that entire entity, and the owners are the investors of that particular asset. We will look into the structure, inshallah, later. So this certificate represents the Sukuk. I'm a Sukuk holder of this $100 million Sukuk. I put about $1 million, 1% share that I have. And then I am trying to, I'm part of the ownership of that entire asset. So that is the basic definition of Sukuk, inshallah. And going forward, there are different types of Sukuk that we hear in the market, alhamdulillah. There are different types of Sukuks. People say, all the sukuks are debt-based, which are all like more or less like a conventional debt-based. There are debt-based sukuks, there are asset-based sukuks, there are asset-backed sukuk, and there are project-based sukuk. There are different types of sukuk. Once you have that, motivation and the inspiration to go deep into the subject matter, you become an expert, you become a specialist, and you become a practitioner. That is what we are. The education institutions has to go into that practical knowledge. No more theory. No more theory. Those days we say, if you want, to know about anything, people used to go and Google it. Google it about Islamic. Today, the AI today, AI give you faster than the Google research than those days. So this is what we really wanted to make sure. The sukuk, the different types of sukuks are there. You have to master them. You have to understand them. Take that as a subject matter. Take that as a specialized area to focus and build on. There are great opportunities that you can tap into in the next 5 decades, inshallah. So we have different types of sukuks. Given that underlying asset, there are different types of sukuk that we can create. As I mentioned to you, there are sukuk called muraba sukuks, which are like more or like a debt-based sukuk, muraba, buying and selling of a commodity. And also we have mudaraba and musharaka sukuk, we are equity participation, sharing on, the business ventures that we are talking about. And there are, ijara sukuk. Most of the sukuk that have been issued are ijara sukuk, where the rental income as part of the returns that the investor get. And there are istisna sukuk, which are not tradable until the istisna period is being finished, and then it becomes tradable. So these are istisna for project financing. You wanted to manufacture a big plant, big housing scheme, you have to put up what you call roadway, bridges, whatever you talk about. A sukuk has the option to structure in such a manner that will, bring that, capital raising into meaningful outcome, inshallah. So given that, as I mentioned to you, the muraba sukuk is mainly like buying and selling of an asset, and there's a markup, there's a price, that income, the profit margin that will be shared among the investors, inshallah. And ijara sukuk will be sukuk, those assets have been leased out for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Those lease rental income will be used as the income. Mudaraba and musharaka, whatever the venture that they are making, whatever the profit that they are making, or whatever the losses, it will be shared among those agreed upon mutual ratios. That will be really upfront available. Whatever $1 we make, we share 50-50, 60-40, 80-20. And again, if you look at the istisna sukuk, okay, we will fund you and raise the money, and the money will be go on for construction for 18 months, for 2 years, inshallah, 2 years. So that will be like like a grace period, and then it will be leased out, or it can be a combination of istisna and ijara, inshallah. So we can go forward. And then people used to ask, how do I compare? That's the real comparison that comes. People used to ask about what is the difference between conventional banking and Islamic banking. Now our topic today is on sukuk. So what is the difference between a conventional bond and a sukuk? This is a fundamental question everybody asks. Even government wanted to go for conventional bonds. So if you really look at from the Islamic finance perspective, the conventional bond and the sukuk, the nature of the conventional bond is the debt instrument, not an equity instrument like, sukuk. Sukuk is an asset ownership certificate. You will own the asset. And then whereas when it comes to return, I have been reiterating, the return comes from sukuk, from Sharia compliant return I spoke about. And also return from conventional bond, purely it comes from interest rates, which has been prohibited in Islam, and we will never get into conventional bonds. And also the backing, the backing for a conventional bond, it shows the credit worthiness of the country sometimes. The people who are really structuring or want to participate in conventional bonds, what the bankers or what the investors will look at, what is the rating of that sovereign? People will look at the sovereign rating. And based on that sovereign rating, yes, my investment in this particular country, which has been rated, as an investment grade rating, and I can put the money and it's secured. So people look at the credit worthiness of that particular country. And in sukuk, they are looking at for tangible underlying asset when it comes to sukuk, in addition to the country rating. And we also can't go and spend the money in a place where you are not secured. So you have to do our own due diligence, but the sukuk will bring that tangible underlying asset, alhamdulillah. And coming back to conventional bonds are non-Sharia compliant, whereas Sukuk is fully Sharia compliant. Not only Sharia compliant, today, if you really look at the global bodies like, who are really promoting and trying to come out with a benchmark with ESG framework, ESG compliant, they are not aware about what the Sharia compliant is all about. Unaware. I always say that the entire Islamic finance market is untapped mainly due to lack of understanding as to what it is all about. Millions of people, even our own Muslim brothers and sisters, are unaware about what Islamic finance is all about. Millions of people out there. And even like look at those people who are policy makers, who are in the governments, who are decision makers, who really want, who are driving the entire economy. And they are struggling to, bridge their deficit budget, pay their, service their debts. They are struggling and they don't know about what is this Sukuk is all about, what is Islamic capital market is all about. So the information has to reach every nook and corner of the world. Every decision maker in the government, each government, they are suffering with these debt structures. How to reform them. So this is what we really have to put forward, the message, inshallah. And again, investor risk. I mean, if you really look at the conventional bond, they look at the credit risk only, whereas the Sukuk looks at the shared asset plus credit risk. Is the market value of the asset which has been ring-fenced, is been, at the same price, or whether it has gone up or gone down. What is the situation? So it's part of the shared assets, inshallah. So these are the little fundamentals of the conventional bond and the Sukuk. And coming back to the second topic, I mean, coming back to the real core today, I mean, we all are here to know about the sovereign debt reform strategy. What is the strategy? Who formed the strategy? Who are decision makers? How can how can we educate them, advise them, motivate them to think outside the box? They have been, doing this, I mean, conventional lending or conventional debts. They are soaked into it for 50 to 70 to 80 years. The government is our system. I mean, they keep on revolving credit. They keep on going back to the same, lending agencies. They have their entire framework done to invade the country, not through a war, not through, some other, political invasion. They try to invade the country through financial modeling, debt-based financial modeling. That's what these global bodies are doing. And, most of the governments are trapped, debt trapped. So it's very visible, very obvious. I mean, people think that, there are no way out. Most of the governments are thinking there are no way out. And you can't get out from this situation overnight. Overnight, people think, okay, Islamic finance, Islamic capital market, Sukuk, we want to do a Sukuk, we want to raise capital, show me how to do it. It doesn't come overnight. There should be a phased out plan. Everybody wants instant results, quick results. That is the entire social media has taught of the young generation and the elderly generation today. Instant result they need. So we have to have a phased out plan to become independent. I will share with you at my last slide, inshallah, the real game plan for you to go into. And if you really look at, the entire debt reform strategy, why we have to get into this debt reform strategy through a Sukuk proposition, and you say it's the most promising asset class in the world, and because there's a huge market potential. There's huge market potential, alhamdulillah. So the market potential is enormous. If you really look at the Islamic finance market, really untapped. And coming back to the Islamic capital market and Sukuk, it's 1/3 of the entire Islamic financial market. It's also very much untapped. So the next 50 years of the Islamic finance industry, we have to keep on, drum beating and keep on voicing out, tap into this market, wake up to tap into this market. So this is where if you really look at the market being untapped, I am talking about the market being tapped. Only 1% of the global wealth, only 1% of the global wealth has been attracted to the Islamic finance world. Over a period of 50 years from 1975 to 2025, 50 years of the Islamic finance industry, only 1% of the global wealth has been attracted to Islamic finance industry. Still, we drumbeat saying that we have a global success story. We have done, alhamdulillah, we have done the great foundation over a period of 50 years. A foundation has been built strong. A foundation to build over a period of 50 years. How much building blocks we can build on that great foundation? This is the time to build the building blocks in the next 50 years. We know 100% we will be dead and gone. At least we plant the seed and go. We sit in that board meeting, at the finance ministry, at the central bank governors meeting, and voice out saying that as an alternative for the debt, conventional debt. There's a reform that we can build up through a Sukuk strategy and put that seed somewhere in that boardroom of decision makers. Decision makers. And also, I mean, if you look at the market potential, only 20% of the market potential being tapped. I have been there in the industry for the last 30 plus years. Alhamdulillah, I am really sitting on this number, and I reiterate, keep telling everybody, and nobody will challenge that. No, no, no. It's almost 10% of the wealth has been brought into the Islamic finance world. We have tapped into the 50% of the global market potential. Nobody can challenge that. This is the number. The number speaks practically. And if you really look at the Islamic capital market and Sukuk, it just forms about 1/3, most appropriate, 1/3 of the entire Islamic finance market. The entire market is wide open for you and I to tap into. Entire market is open to you and I to tap into, inshallah. And why this sometimes, I mean, if you really look at, I'm talking about the 1% and the 20% of the global potential. If you really look at the global wealth, it's almost 600 trillion dollars is the global wealth. And alhamdulillah, we have reached about 6.2 trillion by 2025. And how do we 10x this number by the century? By the century. When the Islamic finance industry reaches 2075, most of us would have been dead and gone. But still, there are people who will talk about us, inshallah. That's part of our Sadaqatul Jariyah as a charity. Yeah, those guys were talking about by 2075, we will have 10x, what you call 62 trillion. We have 62 trillion or 100 trillion by the time the global wealth also will increase proportionately. So what I mean we have to do is we have to put that seed, plant it, and the people will build on, inshallah. That's what we wanted to do. So if you really look at, the entire industry of the Sukuk market, some of the numbers, you read a Sukuk report from different institutions, different players, they come out with Sukuk. It all depends on whom you are talking to get the statistics. The statistics can vary, whatever the numbers, your gut feeling and all that numbers you can talk about. But if you really look at the potential, yes, there is significant potential and significantly increasing, inshallah. So this is what we really wanted to talk about, inshallah. So people say it's 12 to 15% it's raised on an annual basis. It's a general, sometime in each country, sometime there's an 100% increase. They came out with their first Sukuk. They launched their first Sukuk as a benchmark Sukuk for the entire country to know about it. There are proper regulatory framework, everything was in place. And I am preempting this information. I'm going to cover all that, inshallah, given my time frame. And sorry for keeping my speed, and so that I wanted to share this knowledge, and I wanted to make sure the audience benefit from this program. I don't want to waste your time too, inshallah. So let's get into the sovereign debt crisis reality. What is the reality of the sovereign debt crisis? Everybody knows, everybody talks about it, everybody is suffering, and nobody is taking action. The secret of success is getting started and to continue with what you started and to build on, until you finish it strong, inshallah. So that's what we have to build up by the end of the day, inshallah. So if you really look at, more than 60% of the low-income countries are in debt distress or at high risk, trapped in a cycle of borrowing to service prior debts. This is the cycle, isn't it? I don't need to talk about anything. What is the most of the government they are looking at? Are they paying off their debts, the principal amounts? Most of these governments are not paying their principal amount. They are struggling to service the debt, to pay only the interest portion of the debt. So the interest portion of the debt servicing, to service the debts, and you have to get the entire your GDP income, your revenue generated from the country. Most of the amount will go to service the debts, and you will be with only a handful of certain percentage in order to spend on your country. For your infrastructure projects, for your development projects, whatever that you wanted to do, build your country, your money is not available to do that. And you have to keep on getting into this, vicious cycle of debts, in order to pay the debt. Sometimes there are paying, when you want to pay this, even service the debts, you go for another loan structure, another loan for another couple of years. So the people who are in that country and a generation to come are indebted. They're not yet born yet, but they are still there indebted. And nobody is looking at that, future generation to come, how to get them relieved from this debt cycle. Nobody, we want to live our life and we want to pass away and go. That's it. We have to make sure that whatever we, do, we plant that seed and we are looking for akhirah, inshallah. Allah will know your intention. What made you to do this program? What made you to speak about this program with a crystal clear message, so that everybody's listening will become duty bound today. Alhamdulillah, they have got a message. That doesn't mean that they have to, if they think that this will make a change, make a difference in their life, hold on to it. Learn about the subject matter. Go deep into the subject matter. Allah will open up doors for you, inshallah, if you are sincere, inshallah. And the currency mismatch. I mean, every government, we are like, in the African region, the Asian region, whatever the region we all are coming from, and the currency mismatch, they will give you, either in the euro or maybe in US dollar terms. The loan is given. Why not in the local currency you give? Because the local currency fluctuates and you have a double hit on the foreign currency. So you'll again hit by another layer of currency mismatch. That is again set plan, a game plan, that we have a nice model to give sovereign loans. We have been doing it for centuries today, 50 to 80 years. We are doing it. So they have a model, and every government, at the top-notch, decision makers at the finance ministry and the central banks, and they all got into this entire framework, and they keep on studying the entire thing. How do we honor that? How do you monitor? How do we do this? They break their head in order to get the next cycle of the loan. So this is what the entire brains are working day and night in those ministries and the central banks. So again, conditional stranglehold, like you're holding on to, you can't take your decisions. You have been invaded by this entire financial modeling. You have been invaded. You can't take your decision. We tell you what to do. Do this, do this. Cut this subsidiary. Privatize your ventures. So they come on and dictate terms, and refinancing dependency. You can't, settle the loan. If you can't settle the loan, you will not become eligible to get another loan from another international lending agency or lending body. So whatever do you have to somehow find a way to service these particular debts, and you started, coming out with refinancing, and you are dependent on refinancing. Again, you keep on getting into the vicious cycle. This is the bottom line. These are the facts of life, inshallah. Sometimes our people will not talk about, very clear, and this is understood. But understanding won't do unless you make an attempt, somebody wake up in your institution, in your country, in the ministry that you are. Yeah, I am part of the ministry. I can take this message to my minister. Can we organize a program like this for our ministerial team? To come and tell us, how do I come out with the entire phased-out plan for the next 5 years? Not overnight. Next 5 years, how do I really cut down on my dependency on the international debt financing based on conventional debts? So these are the challenging questions that we will talk about, inshallah. Again, if you really look at, the debt structures fail. Conventional debt structures fail. How that really, it's really fail. Again, the compounding interest. There are so many learned people have said that the interest is the crime. It's really interest the compounding interest is the biggest crime in the world. And also, if you really look at no link between the debt cost, whatever the debt cost, and the actual project return. If the project return is, if you're really sharing a part of the project returns, alhamdulillah, it's good. If the project do well and we made $1, I will share you 20% of the dollar, 50% of the dollar even, from the returns, inshallah. And also, creditor extracts power, grows to as borrowers, become weaknesses. The creditor, you take an upper hand, you dictate terms to you. You do this, you do that, whatever you want to do. And policy autonomy surrendered as conditions of access. You will not get access to the next tranche of the loan unless you do this, do that. And they give certain conditions to fulfill, and you condition, and then you apply for the next tranche of the loan. And everybody's talking about, we got that second tranche. We are really now moving forward. And they are really happy with that thing without knowing they are got into the debt trap. So debt relief, requires geographical alignment, not need. The need is like people, they don't look at your need, why, the purpose, to build up your country. There's an irrelevant question. What the debt agencies want is make sure you honor our commitments. We will pay you and make sure that you have the framework to pay us back. And refinancing risk creates perpetual vulnerability, which I just shared with you, refinancing, getting into that entire cycle. And people will ask, okay, all these problems we know, and we know what's happening in the government. Yeah, we have read about the World Bank, the IMF, the debt crunch, all that, people are suffering and all that information we know. But what is the solution? What is the solution? You are talking about Sukuk. Is it something new? Is something, we are coming out with, off our head? No. Sukuk is something that has been tried, tried, tested, and proven. Tried, tested, and proven. The entire Sukuk market today, if you really look at the entire Sukuk market, is almost 2.5 decades, 225 years. The entire Islamic finance market is 50 years. If you really look at the Islamic capital market, and Sukuk is 25 years, alhamdulillah, from 2002 onwards, 25 years almost. So the 25 years, the Sukuk market has been tried, tested, and proven. I mean, I told you that I have been there from 2002, and you don't know the challenges that we face at the time of, reviewing a particular Sukuk document. How many people are involved in a Sukuk structure? Setting up that SPV. Where do we set up that SPV? Which jurisdiction? And how do you make sure this asset, how do you determine the asset? Is the asset been really brought into the SPV? What is the value of the asset? The valuation guys will come in. The legal guys will come in to structure the agreement. What are the type of agreement that has to go into the entire structure? And you can't just, we are not fooling the market. It has to be genuine agreements. You pay the legal guys and all those people involved. There are so many people who are involved in the Islamic capital market in getting into a Sukuk. I can give the entire full list of people, and one of the guys who are listening today will be one of those people who will be benefiting in the future, inshallah. I am part of the Sukuk team. I'm doing this. I'm a structurer. I'm in the rating agency of the Sukuk. So people will benefit from this entire industry, inshallah, Islamic capital market and Sukuk. So coming into the Islamic finance, before I go further, the challenges that we faced practically was in the early stage of Sukuk, issuance. There is a big, what you call loggerheads on, it's coming from Asia, it's coming from Middle East. When certain Sukuks have been issued from Asia, some of the Middle East participants were unable to, participate in those Sukuk. They say that it's not Sharia compliant as per our scholars in the Middle East. And there's a big loggerheads, on the issuance of a Sukuk from Asia. And when by 2004, I think, if I remember correct, Islamic International Financial Market, IIFM was established. Alhamdulillah, I was one of the founding member of the institution, and we got an opportunity to, review a $600 million Sukuk to make sure this particular Sukuk issuance become accepted worldwide. Without this, Sharia compliance, what you call loggerheads. It's a Asia-based, it's an African-based opinion or a Middle East-based opinion. How do you break this entire thing into the early stage? If those really, if we're in the same loggerheads, the industry would not have been grown to this extent. So what was the solution that we made at that time when the Sukuk was launched, 2002, 2004, when these really practical challenges were there? If to take off the entire Sukuk industry up. And what we did was, we came out with a Sharia board, about 11-member Sharia board, and this Sharia board has been picked up from different parts of the world. And they are from different schools of thought. Come, sir, come, Sheikhna, come and sit in our board. The 11 members of the board, they sat and they reviewed the entire Sukuk document, and they gave yes or no. They gave a fatwa, they gave an opinion. Yes, this particular Sukuk is acceptable, and it's acceptable by the Asian scholars, African scholars, Middle East scholars, and all the scholars. There are certain scholars, sometimes they rescind. They say, no, I am not going to sign. I have certain doubts. And that's how the entire board was being managed. I've been there with the Sharia scholars at that time, and one of the scholars said, no, I am not signing the opinion. I am not signing the thing. I rescind. And all others signed, and the Sukuk was approved based on majority. And it became acceptable worldwide. And alhamdulillah, from that day onward, Sukuk has been, the Sharia opinion has been always, which has been given in order to be acceptable globally. Alhamdulillah. So that is the real challenge. One other challenge that I just shared with you, given the time, and I don't want to skip that whilst I'm telling you what the solution for this entire debt structure, conventional debt structure failure. How can the Sukuk industry, asset-backed asset-backed finance, and every dollar of the debt must correspond to a real productive asset. That's what it is. Money is not a commodity to be bought, sold, or leased. Money has to be put into a productive generating asset, a productive asset, income generating asset. So not abstract or credit worthiness. So risk sharing mechanism, we have to share the risk on that asset. It can go up, it can go down. All that you are taking the risk as the owners of that particular asset. You have a partial ownership of that asset. And domestic currency options. You can do a sukuk on your own domestic currency. Domestic currency. That's where we should encourage most of the government to come out and get their first benchmark sukuk. In order to get the first benchmark sukuk, there are certain things has to be put in place. So that's where the real advisor, the people who are practitioners, people who want to really come forward and implement, they will, get into that, inshallah. And investor diversification, and we were looking for investors, and you will, some of the countries who are really know about the debt-based conventional bonds. That's what they know about it. They keep on doing for last so many years, decades, 50, 60, 70 years. And they don't know that, there's something called sukuk. It can diversify and tap into a new investor base from those people who have the appetite for Sharia compliant, instrument, Sharia compliant, potential. So this is where that we have to get into it, inshallah. So there are so many things we can talk about. And the sukuk advantage, what is the advantage to the sovereign? That one of the questions that, the decision makers, Minister of Finance, the minister will ask, once the minister is convinced, once they ask and, once he's convinced, and the minister has the ownership to go and, debate with the parliament, get the parliament approved, he will stand tall. I wanted to implement this. This has so much of value to our country. One finance minister, if we can take over that lead, one central bank governor who can really insist that for the country's development, this is the route that we should take. Forget about the religious bias. We are not a Muslim country. And when we talk about sukuk, we think that we are converting the entire country into Islamic finance, Islamic country. This is the wrong notion, petty thinking of the people. People think when the Islamic finance is introduced to a non-Muslim country, they think that we are trying to, change the entire country into a Muslim country. Wrong notion. We are opening a door for you to raise capital through an Islamic finance proposition. Tap into it and make sure your country, cherish from this entire capital raising framework. So this is the real, sometimes, negative framework. Sometimes, people don't look at the benefit from a humanitarian perspective. Let the Sharia compliant financing come to a country. Let the people of my country benefit. Let the nation benefit. They are from different walks of life, different faiths and beliefs. Let everybody benefit from it. So this is another message that we have to really inculcate this message to every country. If you really look at London, UK has a 2 million population. There are 6 Islamic banks in London to cater for a 2 million population. You think that, the London want to convert the entire country into a Muslim country? They are open up. They are open up to welcome Islamic finance as an investment opportunity for them to build up their country. 6 Islamic banks. There are so many projects in London, is based on sukuk. They benefited from the sukuk structure. So why not other countries tap into? Why not other countries, to tap into? You can't just tap into overnight. They have to put a plan, inshallah. So we will talk about that. And coming back to the sovereigns, and I already spoken about that, so much of benefit that you get from a sukuk to a sovereign. And if you really access to new liquidity pools, which I spoke about, and also no policy conditionality. We don't dictate terms for you. Do this, do that. We are just wanted to protect that asset. The asset is generating income, and we are funding that for the next 5 to 10 years. And again, investor-based diversification, credit profile enhancement. You will say once you are ready for a sukuk, that can be a benchmark sukuk, and there are corporate sukuks coming up, and people are raising money through sukuks. MashaAllah, the country is developing, alhamdulillah. And at the same time, infrastructure financing today, if you look at, there are so many governments, it's again untapped. So many governments want to come out their entire outskin schemes, they want to build, highways, they want to build their metros, they want to put up, huge infrastructure facilities, and so much they want to do. All that is possible, through a proper structure, inshallah. And coming back to the conventional side of it, everybody today, we are talking about ESG, whether we are protecting the environment, we are socially, applicable, socially aligned. And also we bring in the governance part of it. Indeed, ESG and SDGs, these are already inbuilt in the Sharia compliant framework. Millions of people out there are not aware about that. They think ESG is a separate ball game and SDGs are a separate ball game. Sharia compliance is another ball game. So this all, if you look at the Sharia compliant, all those good things that the entire conventional bodies are coming out with good frameworks, it's part of the Sharia, good ones, which has the humanity, which has the countries, inshallah. So this is what we really wanted to look into. And there are issue ones. I mean, you can come out with a sovereign sukuk or a corporate sukuk, depending on the country, how they come with the sovereign sukuk as a benchmark, and the country is geared up to raise capital for their projects, and the country will thrive, inshallah, in the long run. And how how the structure works? I mean, a basic, simple structure, what you need. And I know it's complicated when it comes to real implementing, but if you really look at what you need, originator, who wants this money, $100 million? My government wants, my big corporate entity, we are a multi-million-dollar group, we want to raise money and we have enough of assets we have, but we don't want to sell the factory. We don't want to sell our building, but we're generating income. How can I, make sure that asset can be put into a SPV, and whatever the income that is generating from the asset under the SPV, ring fence that particular asset, and that asset can be, used as a sukuk, and then you can issue, sukuk holder certificate so that the investors get attracted based on the asset and the return, alhamdulillah. So once we sit in, I mean, as an advisor, whatever, once we sit in to get into the entire framework, alhamdulillah, we have gone through A to Z. Sometimes you go to a person as a practitioner who has gone through the mill. We have gone to the mill. No need to reinvent the wheel. We have done it. We just be faster. We can do it speeder, not reinventing the wheel. We want to learn that. We are now, ask ChatGPT, ask AI, and get the structure done. Today, we are all depending on, artificial intelligence. Whenever you have that genuine intelligence practically that you've gone through, the mill, it's hand on, ChatGPT or AI cannot, reproduce that. So you must always get that practical knowledge, inshallah. Allah has blessed me, for the last 30 years, and I'm duty bound to, spread that message to you guys, inshallah. And coming back to the third one, I don't know my timing. I really try to stick to my time. And also Islamic finance, the IMF and the World Bank. We talk about when it comes to conventional sovereign debt financing. These are the two institutions that comes to our minds. And there are so many other global lending agencies also involved. But our topic is today about sovereignty, inshallah, sovereign debts. So same capital, we are raising the same capital, but no strings attached. No strings attached. That is the fundamental, that's the core fundamental thing that we really want to do. If you really look at, what are the things, what is the model? If you really look at the actual commitment that, the borrowers, give it to the people, these people, what they give, they focus on the fiscal austerity, the fiscal austerity measures, and structural reforms. We have to change the structure. You have to do this, you have to do that. No, we have to get the parliament approval, and that's a big chaos in the parliament. There are two dividing parties. They want to go, they don't want. They are big. It doesn't come overnight again. The structural reform doesn't come overnight, and then you do the structural reforms in order to satisfy your what you call lender. He's dictating terms for you to do this, and with all these challenges, you are trying to get that done in order to get your next tranche. And monetary policy, you change the monetary policy, the central bank, the finance ministry, they are day in and day out, changing their policy framework in order to, satisfy these lenders, global lenders. Institutional changes, everything, the change, independent central bank mandate, are the central bank is independent to take their own decisions, or they are not independent. And pension reform sometimes, how you really, make sure that this is really working. Pension reform, cut benefits. You can't, all these subsidies, whatever benefit that you are giving for the old people, those people who are really on the downtrodden, you are helping them. That's your nation, your people. The government is responsible to take care of the people. And they say, no more. Before you take care of the people, you pay us. So they're not worried about, your poverty level, all that, your debt servicing factor, your wealth, whatever that you are, your reserves, reserve currency or whatever the reserve that you have, they're not bothered about as long as you pay us. So this is what really looking into the entire, so they become, committed for that. And also coming back, Islamic finance as a principled alternative. That's what we want to do. We want to tell the people. You must have the courage and the guts to share what is the truth, what is right. Sometimes truth will not prevail overnight. Immediately. Truth will prevail at last. Truth will prevail at last. But the truth has to be told now. Told now. So when you have that entire thing, it's the fact, it's the principled alternative. If you can really implement in its true spirit and sense, that's what we are really looking at. If you really look at the entire, IMF, it's worked on, LIBOR or SOFR, and then and also the risk premium regards. The risk premium, they can keep on charging, and it's again based on the dollar, based on the foreign, currency, not on the local currency. And also, extensive policy. What are the conditions? I've spoken about widely. How these global agencies dictate terms and 100% risk on the borrowing government. So creditor protected in all scenarios. So this is where if you really look at, my focus is in Islamic finance and the Sukuk. What is the benefit of the entire Sukuk that can really bring to the sovereign? If you really look at the profit rates, whatever tied up to the underlying asset, you make money, you pay us. You have an asset already, locked in on the SPV, so we are generating income from that, alhamdulillah. And also not is also beyond Sharia compliance of the underlying asset, And also, if you really look at, shared risk between, the parties involved, the investors and the issuer, and global Islamic investors, ESG funds, sovereign wealth funds, they're all participating, alhamdulillah. So 5 to 30 years that can go into some of the sukuk structures can go, stretch out. It can become a revolving, a cyclical, it can structure in such a manner so that, the government benefit. Even issuance, sometimes creates or maintains a tangible productive asset. So there are so many benefits that we can talk about. Inshallah, if we get an opportunity to go deep into a course, alhamdulillah, we are building some of these slides that have been prepared. This is for a corporate client, a capital market authority, academy, some of the courses that we have built up, and also trying to advise some of those, governments, who really wanted to get some sukuks done. And they say that we need dollars in our country. We are ran out of dollars. Can we do a dollar sukuk? So people are talking to us, alhamdulillah, from an advisory capacity. So these are the things that we can advise them. And sometimes, some of the slides that were prepared for those proposals, those clients, this, but I'm sharing everything on this particular webinar and given due respect for Edupro initiatives, alhamdulillah. So I'm just sharing that if there are anything that which are common, I can share in, when we discuss share certain slide or share some program that we have, we can give access to that program where most of the information will be there, inshallah. And coming back to, the one before the final, and just wanted to rush through and to get that message across, inshallah, the final message. Dependence is a phase. You will depend on each phase that you are depending on the entire debt market. If you really wanted to have become independence, you must have a structured plan and not an overnight plan. It's a long-term strategic plan, inshallah, long-term strategic plan. How do I make my country face out a plan to independency? And again, if you really look at the entire country transition model, I can really talk about a country transition model, and there are phases. It will take year 1, year 2, year 3, year 5, year 10, year 15, even take year 15 years, inshallah, to move into the entire Sukuk framework in the country. It took 15 years for us to change the regulatory framework from a debt-based, borrowing to a Sukuk-based borrowing. The country went through an entire reformation, and they reformed everything, and then we are ready after 15 years. At least it took a generation of 15 years, a generation to transform, and that you are well assured that the next generation to come is going to benefit and do well, provided you take that challenge and start now, and the next 15 years take that long shot. Take that next 15 years, and so that you will audit currently what is our current debt portfolio, what is the current issue, assess the current audit of the entire debt framework that we have, how it is affecting our economy, how it is affecting the entire policy that we make. And also the pilot issuance, scale and diversity reform achievements, you can keep on building it up. And I'm reiterating again, people all want like everything done in a jiffy, they want to do it now. That's what the entire mindset is. I mean, we have to put the seed. We have to plant that seed. It will be buried for some time, and then it will grow, inshallah. It will grow. So coming back to the final session, inshallah, finally the path forward. What is the path forward? What is the message that you will take home? What is the actionable plan that you will take home? You may be part of, all these decision makers, a ministry, a central bank, or a corporate institution, who are really wanted to do something. You have that guts. You have that, you have the voice to share in a board meeting, in a meeting, or wherever you get an opportunity. Tell them in crystal clear form. This is what we want more to do. And there will be so much of restrictions and oppositions and criticism can come, and make sure you get the right people with you in order to rebuttal those criticism, and tell them, we want to do this not for our benefit, we want to do this for your benefit and the generation to come to benefit from this entire transformation that you are going to come through this debt reform strategy, inshallah. So restructure existing IMF and the World Bank debt portfolios using Sukuk refinancing window. You can't throw them out overnight. Little by little, alhamdulillah, we just need 1% of the debt has been brought into Sukuk, 1%, and then 5%, then 10%, or 50-50. We are partially 50 or debt-based, debt-based conventional lending, 50% from, Sukuk, mashallah. It took 10 years, it took, 15 years. You have done something remarkable to your country, to a respective country, inshallah. So build domestic Islamic capital market to create self. Today, mashallah, if you look at most of the African countries, they are coming out with their entire entire capital market structure. So the capital market structure, they should have the Islamic capital market structure within that, so that they can tap into the entire diversified investor base, inshallah. And leverage on all global supernatural institutions like IDB, and there are bilateral channels. I mean, you can talk about all those people who have the appetite, mashallah, so they can be tapped into enormous potential. Even like, it does not be a Muslim investor. There are so many people who are non-Muslim, people from other faiths and beliefs. They're also looking at ethics. Look, forget about Sharia compliant. They want something ethical, something social, something moral. And we are talking about everything, in a Sharia compliant. It's ethical, it is moral, it's social, and it is religious too. It is religious too. So that's what we are bringing in. We are bringing in a full package to the government, and also position the country as a regional Sukuk hub, and to attract global Islamic capital flows. If you really look at this particular government came out of Sukuk, and they came out with a couple of Sukuk. Every Sukuk was honored. There are no default. That itself a benchmark to get your sovereign rating higher. Sometimes, I really wanted to finish by saying that when it comes to rating, sovereign rating, there are so many rating agencies. Sometimes still they have not comprehend how do we rate. What you call Sukuk and the conventional bond. Is the same yardstick that we use, or different yardstick we use in order to measure the Sukuk, Islam Sukuks, so that it gives a different flavor, different rating, different notches above. So this is what really wanted to share, mashallah. I think I have come to my conclusion. And then thank you very much again for every one of you for hearing me loud and clear, mashallah. Thank you for your patience. And alhamdulillah, may Allah give barakah to everyone to benefit from this program. And I'm very happy that I shared my thoughts very in a simple, and I speak out my heart, inshallah. And thank you very much for the organizers, Brother Fakhru and the Edupro, Brother Hassan, and all, Dr. Ziad, and all the people who have been part of the entire initiative, and the university that you are part of your sponsorship and the program. May Allah give barakah to everyone. And with that note, I would like to conclude my session, inshallah. I have really taken my 60 minutes, inshallah. With that note, I will thank you, saying that Wahid Dawana and Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and it's open for you to ask any question, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad Ikram Thowfeek. We are very much grateful, and it was very productive presentation from your side. So especially the pathway you have shown, that I really liked the way you have presented, and you recommended for making an Islamic capital market, which is very important for any countries. And also one of the take is this is not only for the Muslim countries, this is also applicable for non-Muslim countries as well as non-Muslim organizations. So it is not a matter of religion, It is like you said, it is matter of ethics, it is social, and it is moral. So we have the very opportunity for all the countries and many of the corporate bodies. As a finance student, I know how it is important for us to apply in real life. So thank you very much for using your time efficiently, very efficiently, and we'll take few questions only. So, dear participants, if you can kindly, I see that there is one hand already raised by Heikyo Ajenoman. Please, could you please unmute yourself and uh, ask your questions, please? Heikyo, can you please unmute yourself? We are not hearing you. And for
Can you hear me now?
participants, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
My question
please.
is, thank you very much for that very brilliant presentation, and I pray that Almighty Allah continues to bless your work and increase you. My question is very simple: how can small, medium SMEs take advantage of Islamic financing in order to be able to start and growing their businesses? Because especially in developing economies, the credit issue is a big burden. A lot of people with brilliant ideas simply cannot access credit. So my question is, how can small medium businesses take advantage of the Islamic financing in order to be able to raise capital for their businesses and their projects? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very valid question. I mean, it's a very valid and very common question. That's one of the important aspect of Islamic banking and finance. Sometimes it's quite unfortunate that most of the Islamic finance industry is not into a product called mudaraba and musharaka. This where the equity participation to empower small and medium enterprises. That is where the real challenge comes in order to create entrepreneurs, not job seekers. This is one of the areas that we are really exploring now in order to bring that knowledge of the Islamic banks to get in and fund those micro, small, and medium enterprises in order to create their own jobs. And people are really worried about their jobs today. AI is taking over my job, and there are no jobs in the market. I don't want to seek a job. I want to create my own job as an entrepreneur. This is where the Islamic finance has another great potential to tap into by participating and grooming those budding entrepreneurs who have a great idea. You bring 20% of the capital. I don't know how you will bring that 20% of the capital. You sell your mother's jewelry or sell your father's motorbike or sell your land, whatever you sell it. If you have a serious player, if you are a serious player, want to start that business, you bring your 20% equity and then go and tap into the Islamic bank, say that I want 80% equity. I want to become a partner with you on a musharaka. I didn't come to seek a job. And let the people who have great ideas with little capital in their hand, and they go and tap the doors of the Islamic bank. I mudarab or a musharaka. So this way it will really build up, inshallah, that entire Islamic banks will open up. Wow, there's another opportunity to tap into these micro, small, and medium enterprises. They can't keep on funding these institutions. It's a very risky business, and people will fade away overnight. So that doesn't mean that everybody is going to be fading away. We must have a proper model. How do you profile them? How do you make sure that you identify the right people? How do you protect your risk? How do you monitor them? All that has to be into a proper framework of helping them. How do I get a takaful coverage, entrepreneurial takaful? Can I cover the risk of the entire business through a takaful, and the takaful company will wake up? Wow, takaful. I have to create an entrepreneurial takaful. We have medical takaful, we have marine takaful, automobile takaful. Where is the entrepreneurial takaful to cover the risk portion of certain percentage of the risk of these micro, small, and medium. It's another topic, brother. I mean, another topic. And thank you for raising this particular question. Again, I mean, I really wanted to share so many things. Thank you so much. It's a great question and another topic like this, Sukuk, what we spoke about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We may organize more webinar on those issues like the takaful and the opportunity for the SMEs as well. Definitely to give the information. There are questions that are the webinar found in YouTube. Yes, we will. We have the records. So with permission from Mr. Ikram Thowfeek, we will upload the YouTube, whichever the part is possible. So there is a question. There is a hands raised by Jamilu. Please unmute yourself and ask the question, please. Jamilu Garba Abdullahi. Yes, we can hear you. Please.
Are you doing all?
Yeah, please. Waalaikumsalam.
Oh, okay. I really appreciate how better all the things there. So my question here is that how this come wider so that we have a compulsory in short, what I want to hear is to be very good at direct taxation. Those that will keep on benefiting from the that is
your voice is not clearly audible. Can you please write your questions in the chat box? So we are taking the next question from Isma Haidari. Jamilo, please write your questions in the chat box.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Asma, and thank you for your presentation. Actually, I have a question. Sir, do you think Sukuk can contribute to the sustainability and green finance? Because as you know, there are some green bonds which are contribute to the sustainability. Do you think there will be any contribution from Sukuk to the sustainability and green finance?
Indeed, that is one of the odd topics today. Well, when the entire global market is talking about the climate change, the ESG, the environment, social, and the governance framework, most of the corporate investment people are trying to make sure it's ESG compliant. The entire global market is talking about the sustainability, the greening, what do you call green financing, green investment, and all these they are talking about. Sukuk is an ideal product. Sukuk is the ideal is already inbuilt. The entire sustainability they are talking about. The global market is talking about sustainability and the global market is talking about ESGs. The Sukuks are already Sharia compliant, which comes with those, what you call sustainability framework, ESG framework, and everything that you are talking about. But majority of the people doesn't know. That is the biggest challenge. That's the biggest challenge. And, if you really talk to them and they will say, no, ESG is nothing to do with Sharia compliance. Sharia compliance is a religious connotation, it's only for the Muslim community. They really divert that into another subject matter and they want to promote that ESGs and SDGs. So we have to make sure the Sharia compliance is already inbuilt. That message has to be spread, inshallah. Thank you very much, Isma.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I think we are running on time. So if we receive more questions, what we do for each of the webinar, if we have the questions, we will forward the questions to you. And if you want, if you give the answer, we will provide them in our LinkedIn or in directly to the student, to the participant as well. So since everything has an end, we have to finish it by today. And it was an excellent participation, and we had the more than 100 participants from 22 countries today. So this is really, I think, amazing thing. And I think every country's, all the participants, they might find this useful, very useful. And we may finish this here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. May Allah give barakah to everyone. Thanks for everyone who have been listening. Thank you so much. Shukran.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye for today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. It was amazing, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
www.eduprouk.com